Good evening. It's Professor George Lees working on the Sabbath again. Completely riddled with guilt. I want to tell you why David Cameron has resigned and how the Rothschild's family are in league with communist bastards. Their names are Blavatnik, and their colleagues are all on the Rothschild's boards. And they are massive criminals. And I'm then going to tell you, or I'm first going to tell you, about the massive crimes of the Rothschilds in the breeding chambers in Europe. We've told you about Queen Victoria's rape and pillaging at their hands and in front of their penis, which is the goldfish in Tring's pond. This time it's the rape and pillaging of the beautiful woman that is the second wife of Napoleon, and they had her raped and pillaged when Napoleon was still interned on St Helena, which is now an elite honeymoon resort. So just to set the scene, and I'll get the computer ready, have a listen in. It's the usual suspects all the way to the Bank of England. The God's colours. Kind of dopey looking, like Mrs. Cameron. She's going to be redundant soon. The father, the bastard children of the Emperor Napoleon. That's the story that comes out, and this is the Piso family. That says King Salamon in Vienna, in Rothschild, Austria. The Aryan master race. With the Iron Cross for Germany, with the Victoria Cross for Britain, and with the Christian Cross for the biggest fraud that all of them pull directly in the bloodline. And she is the legendary Duchess of Parma. Thank you to the chip shop owners for explaining to me the history of Parma ham on the weekend. It's a massive set of crimes. And I'm going to read to you now from my source the text that is from page 77 on King Solomon. So this is quite shocking. This woman is used to sire the children of the Rothschilds. Another one of those stories. This one I only learned that the gods gave me the message. Just look up some key names in the index in Frederick Morton's book, and when I did, I find on page 77 that there is a chapter called King Salamon. Let me show you him and remind you of what he's done to our country. He started the slide because he would not report any of my revelations to our country. That's Salamon Rothschild of Austria. I think that's him. And this is King Salamon, who runs the Viennese central bank. And let me show you now Alex Salamon, yeah, fat bastard sitting in front of the Christianity fraud, which is the cross keys icon for George Clooney's Clooney Abbey. Yeah, and all of them think that that is totally undetectable, and we are now facing a second referendum. They're wasting millions and millions of pounds shipping in Turkish people to make it look as if we're going to enter into World War III because of what happened last week. And all of what happened last week is because of everything that I've reported about Tony Blair, Henry Kissinger and Lord Lockhart being in charge of the future of EU for several years now. Yet Tony Blair is also in charge of the Holy Lands, yet as the envoy to the Middle East. It's a massive set of frauds against the people. There is no government, and it goes right back to that guy with the eye patch who shags that beautiful woman who is the married wife of Bonaparte, who's in St Helena, yeah, and he is there because he's been sent there by the European elites, and he is a European elite. The woman is a princess. Yeah, and the one with the eye patch is just a mercenary from the Piso families. Right then, what other pictures do we have? Commie bastards. Yeah, this is the Rothschild family that run all wars, all sides, that trained Marx and Engels in English-speaking London. Yeah, and that is the symbols for the Austrian democracy in inverted commas. Yeah, they're the owners of Britain, and that is the Azure main joke that I shared with you all of last week. Thank you to all of the people in my town and in my region and the visitors coming into my town for wearing the Azure blue to show your affiliation. It's massive. Almost everybody's in the network, and that's because all of them are the cowards that run all wars in their pinstripe suits, and they send all of the ordinary punters and their children to their deaths, yeah, and then they expect them to elect them in the next corrupted election, or the next corrupted auditor's investigation of their boardrooms. Let me show you what I found in the last search. Yeah, as soon as I found this, I began to make the video. Okay, the history is ruthless, but this is the Blavatnik School of Government Foundation of Great Britain. Have you heard of Blavatnik? Yeah? Yeah, he's the oligarchic leaders that is a friend of the Chelsea manager Abramovich, and he is a friend of all of those company directors, and oh no, there's Len Blavatnik. So this is one of his interlocks, okay, and I think if we take that back we'll find the true directorship, but I will take you instead. So there's Len Blavatnik, and there is the one that is in charge of the global warming scam with the Rothschilds, yeah, and the Rockefellers since the 1970s. I think I did not realise that on the Sickly Planet, or whatever the website is with the word planet in it, it reveals for you that the Rothschilds have been profiting from the global warming scam since that, for that very, very long period of time. Yeah, and I've only given the blame to that to Bill Clinton and his colleagues. I don't know how the Rothschilds avoid the pathologies. Yeah, none of them are young except little Natty. Yeah, and he's on the board of this one. Yeah, Oleg Deripaska, director. Okay, let me show you the company check site and show you who's the usual suspects are from the Rothschild family now. Massive corrupt cabal that lead the elected officers in inverted commas, and even the fraud in the elections is now openly proclaimed by all of the journalists across our world. Okay, and where is Company directors associated with Lord Jonathan Andrew Kestenbaum. He interlocks with that sad bastard who runs the company that claims that it is about running the British democracy. You just saw that title, didn't you? So these are the up-to-date colleagues, and I will then begin to tell you the story about that woman in the breeding chambers that they run in Napoleon's bedrooms. It's really funny, and they become the kings and queens of France. And there's another dynasty beyond Napoleon after he was killed, and all of those stories have been told by Greg Hallett about the silk ladders and the stockings. That is the connection to Rothschild silk and all of their silk factories, and even the one that is in Krasnoselsk and launched World War II for the Warner Brothers. Okay, Baron Nicholas Maria Bodo von Brummer, GVQ Investment Management. This is the interlocks with Lord Jonathan Andrew. He's on the board of Blavatnik's companies. Okay, and all of them, J. Rothschild, Lord Davis of Abersoch. Let's scan down it and show you. Baron Nicholas Maria Bodo von Brummer, GVQ Investment Management. Dharma Teja Ignacio Gianti, J. Rothschild Capital Management Limited. Jean-René Marie Maurice Laurent Belleau, Edrit Limited. Lady Lyra Helen Winston. Yeah, do you get why all of the Scottish comedies are made about the Winstons, and all of the characters are covers? Yeah, so in that pathetic planet that they plan in advance with the global warming scam, there's a man in that who launches Michelle Pfifer into the public eye. Yeah, I'll show you that when I get to the tab. Lord Edmund John Philip Brown of Madingley, the Blavatnik School of Government Foundation. Yeah, in the UK. Do you get it? The Russian commie bastards that all of them claim, yeah, are worth fighting against, when they take the whole of NATO's armies, led by Obama, yeah, who threatened to start World War III in the Ukraine, where the Rothschilds emerged from. This one is Hannah Mary, yeah, Brookdale's dad, Lord Nathaniel Charles Jacob Rothschild, Windmill Hill Asset Management Limited. I've not told you it yet, but the windmill, the four blades on the windmill are the same joke as the four limbs on the swastika. For Hitler Rothschild in World War II. It does not get much more evil than this. And Lady Helen Winston is on the Covenant and Conversation Trust. That's the Christian and Jewish Moe and Ike covers that I've told you about from the book that I'm going to cite, and tell you the tragic tale of those breeding chambers for the missus of Emperor Napoleon when he was still alive. Lord Nathan Charles Jacob Rothschild, yeah, that's Hannah's dad. Spencer House Limited, J. Rothschild Capital Management, 61 companies the sad bastard's got, but at least he's honest enough and open enough to declare that. Yeah, RIT is one of the companies. It flashed up as soon as I opened this. There are 20 pages of them linked to Lord Jonathan Andrew, I forget the name of him, and he is directly linked to Blavatnik's boards. Okay, Miss Jane Amanda Rick, Spencer House Limited. Let's see page 2 and see if there's any sensation. And we've got the secretaries at the bottom. Yeah, all of them companies. RIT, Hannah Mary Rothschild's only company now. Yeah, she runs the National Gallery for fear of my revelations. And all of them, there's St James's Place, that is Santiago, and the royal leaders of the Freemasonic cabal in Kensington Palace. Yeah, no holds barred now. Yeah, and they are totally unashamed by it. Yeah, even Yet the bedroom crimes of married women that are picked to be the sires of the money stream that they choose to run next. All of them share that joke. I'll show you the 13 joke later on. Yeah, the man has 6 dogs. That's the Russian oligarch that we're talking about here. 6 dogs and 7 Piso horses. 13. The Freemasonic name for major change in the power base in the world. David Cameron, you sad twat. Yet the whole of your life, since your family were the Camarinuses in the Piso Roman court that faked the Bible. Yeah, and your wife is the Nell Gwyn relatives of the Protestant pimps that lived with King Charles II. Yeah, she's got a Catholic one, and that is the guy in a scare joke. The Kerrsdale woman is the Catholic, yeah, lover for King Charles II. All of it leads to all of the great conflicts and the massive Christian massacres. Okay, so there's why Kay is in the Hollywood films. Yeah, in the Godfather movies, this is them. Take my word for it. But I can't remember that it's Mr. Lord Jonathan Andrew, and we'll find him on my thingy Revelations. But now I'm going to put up the pictures again of that beautiful woman and read you her rape and pillage story. Yeah, are you ready for the shock? Yeah, this is the Rothschilds that run all wars, all central banks across the globe. Yeah, and he's only got 66 companies. But you can see Windmill Hill, the money laundering, asset management. My energy bills come from the Reading region, where the Windmill Hill is. 1489 companies. Yeah, it's not a date. That is the frauds that they get into and the money laundering. I was going to show you page 2 just in case there are 20 pages. St James's Place Administration. Yeah, I've shown you the shareholdings that are released from all of there. All of them control the exchange rates for every currency across the globe, and they set that in London every morning. Yeah, that's not in that book, that's common knowledge for centuries. There's the one that is on the boardroom with Blavatnik, Mr. Patrick James Robson Madison, Ed Ritt. Yeah, Ritt is the Rothschild company. There's all sorts of jokes. Yeah, and there's the Williamsons that is the cover for me and Gordon Bowden. Gordon Bowden's MP, yeah, that completely broke the British Constitution by not allowing Gordon to meet him and taking his database. The name is just a cover for another Rothschild board member. Yeah, and the Hills, yeah, the Faith Hill jokes, all of it is just covers for their massive crimes. And we've got a Lloyd of London, yeah, GVQ Investment Management. Let's go to the top just in case. This is page 2 of 20. David Neil Wood. Yeah, nothing sensational on that, but this is the presence of the commie bastards that are the Russian billionaires and the oligarchs on the Forbes rich list, which none of the Rothschilds are on. It's a kind of revolutionary red sky, but it's been pissing down since I came home from the dog show. Okay, so let's go to the tabs, but first I'm going to go to the picture of that poor raped and pillaged woman. She has no say in her future. Yeah, her husband is interned. He's a relative of the Bourbons. Yeah, and all of that is on the Queen's bloodline. That's the Queen in England now, the Popo of Grapville, yeah, Grapfield woman that is involved in all of these scams. Yeah, she pretends that she does not understand all of them. All of it is totally pathetic, and the whole of the running of our world, we could have civilization in a fortnight. And they may come and ask me to do that, or they may just top me like they do with everybody else that stands in their way. Okay, there's Deripaska, the one that's on the boards with the man who pretends that he's a scientist in the science of global warming, and that's the cover for Michelle Pfifer. You can no longer find Michelle Pfifer being the love target for Rab C. Nisbet. Yeah, I would not kick her out my bed. Yeah, all of them are now totally ashamed of what they've done. Yeah, in the Scottish Freedom Project. It's quite sickening what the Scottish nation has become and what its ordinary working man is. They just support all of this. The SNP is a total plant, like every one of the political parties around the globe, and all the local councils are their victims. Okay, so that is gone further on than I took it, but let me find the pictures. Commie bastards is where we left it. Okay, and we'll go back and show you the beautiful woman. Yeah, I cannot find a Louise song anywhere on the internet, because my earliest girlfriend here was a Louise, and I did not have the courage to tell her that. She's a professor too, but they won't let me see her again. Yeah, and this is Alex Salmond. Okay, yeah, it's a total twist up. Yeah, the registry for the tartans even is the Rab C. Nisbet's joke. That's the vestarium. That's why he wears the vest all the time. Okay, so Salamon, the Salamon man here. Yeah, I think that is him. Yeah, and let me take you to the book now. There is the lover. Yeah, not the lover, the rapist, and there are the bastard children. Yeah, because I think 3 years later, after they were introduced, yeah, to sire the Rothschilds' pics, yeah, and to go out and launch false monarchies all across Europe, Napoleon was still alive, and he was executed 4 years later because there were so many body doubles wandering around Paris. Yeah, and when he got to Paris, he was replaced on not St Helena, the other place in the Med, by a man that Greg Hallett has told the articulate story about. Yeah, that is, I cannot remember what the name of the body double was, but Napoleon was already in Paris. Yeah, it's all just a massive joke. And the history, when you see the cover-ups of what is written in these books as a joke against the world's people, is absolutely pathetic. None of it is true. Oh no. Mary Louise Bonaparte. There she is. Okay, I'll leave it on there, and I'll put it on the screen, and I'll read you the story. It is absolutely shocking. Yeah, and the gods tell me just to look at the index, and I'll find it on every page where I recognise the name. It was the name Louise that drew me to this. I thought, oh, at last, some history involving the Louises, and that is all of the Bourbons in the palace at Versailles, with the Petit Gardens and all of the things that I've been to gaze at. Yeah, it is totally twisted. Yeah, all of the corrupted leadership teams in those fascist regimes now run the democracies all around the globe, and all of them are related to each other. Every one of the American candidates, including Saunders's, that's the Saunderses that laundered Hitler and Eva Braun out of Lake Mugglesey in the Rothschild yellow submarine. Yeah, and in Eva Braun's little blue dress. Okay, King Salamon. Quite early in the 19th century, His Highness Prince Metternich, Chancellor of Austria, had some public thoughts about bankers who interfered in matters of state. This is page 77 of Frederick Morton's book The Rothschilds, which I think was published in 1961. Let's have a wee look. Same author. Published London 1963. Readers Union, Secker and Warburg. The Rothschilds, a family portrait by Frederick Morton. Yeah, it's the Napoleonic family that we're reporting here. That's the massive killing of 600,000 people in the name of false socialism. Yet, like all of those icons for Austria today, still the hammer and the sickle. Right, so Chancellor of Austria, Metternich, had some public thoughts about bankers who interfered in matters of state. The House of Rothschild, he says, plays a bigger role in France than any foreign government. There are, of course, reasons for it which seem to me neither good nor gratifying. Money is the great motive force in France, and corruption is quite openly reckoned with. Among us in Austria, in parentheses, this commodity finds but few friends. That's the Aryan master race, all of world history, the Asia Blue Main, yeah, all of the Bavarian meetings in Davos of the world's elites and the false socialists like Harold Wilson. For the family, those were hardly hospitable words. Austria still maintained an anti-Semitic hauteur. That's the Ike and Mo jokes, yeah, about all of the relatives of President Eisenhower being the Schindlers, the Nixons, and all of the stories that I told you last week, and the Dietrichs of the backroom. For the family, those were hardly hospitable words. Austria still maintained an anti-Semitic hauteur. In contrast to England and France, the Jews were not permitted to own land anywhere in the Habsburg domains. That's the Rothschild forebears. Yeah, you remember the first moneylenders, yeah, that were related to the Welshers and the Fuggers, and all of the moving around closer and closer to Frankfurt, where the master race actually lived. Yeah, so they could not serve in the government or the courts of justice. The practice of law was closed to them, as was the teaching profession or any kind of political function. That's anti-Semitism, the massive tool, yeah, that gets all of the people killed, yeah, in those revenge attacks, and all of the communist cult, yeah, all of it was a massive killing to get the numbers down. 45 million war dead in World War II. Okay, and this is way back. This is way back when. Okay, I'm not sure what the dates were for that woman, but we can find it on our tab later on. Okay, the practice of law was closed to them, as was the teaching profession or any kind of political function. Jewish marriages, restricted in number, required special permission. A Jew must pay, for Mrs. Thatcher, the poll tax joke, and report regularly to the Jewish office. Yeah, do you get that? Mrs. Thatcher's surviving relatives. Yeah, yet that never get their inquest into the fast cars and the war crimes that they committed in Africa investigated. If he was a foreign nationality, he was given a residence permit, good for a short period only. This is the Brexit scam. Can you see why they've launched it? Yeah, and the Turks are already in town. They called me by my first name, the four of them that I met last night. It's a massive cover for everything that I've reported. Yeah, so a Jew must pay poll tax and report regularly to the Jewish office. If he was of foreign nationality, he was given a resident permit, good for a short period only. In fact, the Austrian police bore down so conscientiously on aliens of the wrong religion that the clan did not risk sending a representative to the Congress of Vienna. Waterloo came and went. Yeah, I've told you all about the Meerling incidents and the murdering of two generations of the archdukes, yeah, of Austro-Hungaria, so that the Rothschilds could take over not only the central bank but the kingdom itself. Waterloo came and went, and no Rothschild had got within earshot of an Austrian minister. But after the explosion at A, this is the It's I Been in Scotland, yeah, and Alex Salmond, yeah, the Danube became ripe for the family. It acted with its usual dynastic prudence. the precisely most suitable brother assumed charge of the Habsburg department. Yeah, the brothers in the Rothschild family, the 5 arrows. Yeah, the Blade Runner jokes, all of the man who wins the Olympic sprints and does not come to Britain again because he has to pay his taxes. He was not an ill... So, the precisely most suitable brother assumed charge of the Habsburg department. He was not an ill-humoured daredevil. This is the magnificent Salamon. He was not an ill-humoured daredevil like Nathan, not a luxuriant dandy a la James. Those two would not have done nearly so well in the lofty shadows of the Hofburg. No, it was Salamon who went forth. Among all mayor's sons, he most favoured the father. A courtier by temperament, his speciality was ingratiation. That in Scotland is arse-licking. Alex Salmond, with the Prime Ministerial First Minister's headquarters right next to the Royal Holyrood, yeah, and all of those crimes against Queen Mary, and all of the know-nothings, and all of the sick joke that there is no political party, there are no independent politicians, all of them are on the take and are slaves to this regime still. Okay, those two would have not done nearly so well in the lofty shadows of the Hofburg. No, it was Salamon who went forth. Among all mayor's sons, he most favoured the father. A courtier by temperament, his speciality was ingratiation. He could talk to Austria's hallowed nobility as though they all sat perched in a splendid forest of family trees. Take you right back to the Bible authors, yeah, and the ancestors of the Egyptian pharaohs. Last not least, he was a diplomat. No foreign minister could have planned his first move towards Vienna better. Casually he hinted to an Austrian official that the entire House of Rothschild might shift the centre of its worldwide operations from Frankfurt to a more congenial place elsewhere. I've started this too soon. It does not tell you the bedroom scams for a bit. This inspired a confidential report which shortly afterwards reached some exalted desks. On September 26, 1819, yeah, we're still in fucking the remnants of World War I and the aftermath. The Minister of the Interior of the Empire, asked to comment on the matter by the Finance Minister, replied, "Your Excellency must be aware that foreign Israelites may reside here only on obtaining the special toleration permit. Special exemptions can be made only with the personal approval of the Emperor. Meanwhile, Your Excellency may rest assured that we are far too well aware of the advantages that would in many respects accrue to the Imperial State of Austria through the settlement of such an eminent firm within its borders, not to advise." Yeah, it's the Rothschilds, all wars, all sides, and it's Leopold way back in the time when we were in the massive invasion of the Holy Lands and Constantinople, running those 7 brutally murderous crusades. Yeah, Leopold pinches, yeah, a huge stash of money because he kidnaps the English king that is Richard the Lionheart. His Majesty most emphatically to give his consent as soon as a formal application in this matter is received. The house in toto did not move, of course. Salamon journeyed alone to Vienna, where he received a residence permit in expectation that the entire business of all the brothers was to follow, and though he only opened a firm of his own, disappointment never had a chance to set in. Salamon had a way with negative sentiments. Before the government could catch its breath, he floated an Austrian state loan of some 55 million gulden, as an Austrian loan had never been floated before. It took the form of, yeah, you've heard the poll tax joke, it took the form of the e-lottery, an unusual and attractive feature. Yeah, all of the treasury in Britain is emptied in the first fucking fortnight. All of the lottery is fixed. All of it is a massive scandal, yeah, to get the taxpayers, who are the only people who fund the country now, to give up more of their cash. But that was just the beginning of Salomon's wisdom, in inverted commas. Yeah, that's the stealing of the funding of the country from the bank that each country is supposed to run to fund the whole of its democracy and all of its local teaching activities and its council activities and all of the initiatives in the public sector, and to give all of its people pay rises when that is prompted for every year by the commie bastards that they place in. Yeah, and that becomes the union leaders that are the Rothschilds too, and all of that is the treason. The union leader here, yeah, that I told you about, his name is Purdy. He lived on the farm that I was born into. Yeah, he is a massive fraudster, and he's got, for the second time in his life, a cancer, and on the weekend he won the lottery. Yeah, and he told me that he's given it to charity. Yeah, and that's the Purdys that are the kings and queens in Etrusca, I think. Yeah, all of the lineages survive. It's just amazing. It took the form of the lottery, an unusual and attractive feature, but that was just the beginning of Salomon's wisdom. He released only a fraction of the issue. You remember all those stories about all of the kings and queens, yeah, even the Hesses of Hamilton, yeah, and the kings and queens of kings and queens of those massive places, yeah, near Vienna. They were duped into giving them the funds, and they only give a tiny return back. They keep the rest, yeah, in the cellar, as portrayed in that movie that you heard the music to. Okay, he released only a fraction of the issue. Not a word was said about there being much more to come. The thing was to appetize, not to gorge. Yeah, that's all of the citizens have to run it like the diet that they impose on the people. The Viennese investing public, and he made the hors d'oeuvre even more palatable by anticipating the much mouth-watering arts of Madison Avenue. A public relations campaign began. Articles in the newspapers praised thrift. Yeah, all of the stuff that we're going to have to give up because we've left Europe, and all of the blood-sucking incomers that will now be allowed to invade here. Yeah, a public relations campaign began. Yeah, so they praised thrift, advised the investor, broadcast the meaning and the rewards of high finance. Yeah, that's the lottery and financial services frauds that I report to you all of the time. Yeah, even the councils at the local level are massive. They take the money from the council and they run their personal literary operations in the Bannatyne Club totally for profit. Yeah, and they're all millionaires, but the council employees get no pay rises. Yeah, and the union leaders steal the capital. Yeah, then they win the lottery when they get the cancer. It's quite sickly. Okay, a public relations campaign began. Articles in papers advised the investor, broadcast the meaning and rewards of high finance. The issue rose mightily. When Salamon announced another 35 millions worth of bonds, there was surprise, anger, and finally a rush to buy. Yeah, they own all of the media, they own all of the news releases. That's why the Bank of England was scammed when Napoleon, their friend, yeah, released the news that he had won the battle by racing pigeon. Yeah, and they told the world in Cheapside, where the Bank of England is, that the Bank of England shares were worthless, and so they plummeted in value. Nathan Mayer Rothschild bought them all up, and all of a sudden the Bank of England is in their hands. And that is the Waterloo song for ABBA. Yeah, a joke about religion. Yeah, ABBA is the Father God, and a joke about all of this stuff. Okay, let's get on with her story. Everyone who got hold of the issue gained, most of all Salamon. The operation he was to confess later had netted him 6 million gulden, Such prophets, of course, were apt to produce a little indignation, but it was not easy to stay indignant at the man. He bore himself so simply and modestly, since he could not. Let's get down on both knees. Yeah, I'm down on my socialist knee. Yeah, since he could not own a house, he rented a single room at the Römischer Kaiser. That's the German relatives, yeah, the Kaisers that are in charge of the British Navy at the outbreak of World War I. Yeah, and the Römischer Kaiser Hotel, yeah, they've got one in fucking Innsbruck. Yeah, and you can look it up. It's a massive hotel chain. They're still active. One of the city's better hotels. True, he soon rented another room, and then another, and then an entire floor, until by accident, as it were, he had hired all of the hotel. Neat tricks, eh? The parties he gave were terribly pleasant and sympathisch to a select roster of guests that soon included Metternich himself. In an unpretentious way, Solomon's Inn radiated amusement. Do you get the Innsbruck's jokes now? Hannah Mary Rothschild, Brookdale, Mrs. Brookdale, no room at the inn for Jesus. All of Jesus's artefacts in the Wadsden Manor as a tourist trap. It's a massive, massive set of frauds, and all of the war dead, yeah, are in graves overseas. Yeah, in an unpretentious way, Solomon's Inn radiated amusement at all of those things, advice, even practical help. The Rothschilds' early Frankfurt rival, Moritz Bethmann, visited Vienna in the early 1820s and came away amazed. In quotes, "Salamon has won the people's affection here," he said, partly through his general modesty and partly through his readiness to be obliging. Nobody leaves him without being comforted. The person Salamon confronted became steadily more important and profitable. In 1825 he was called upon to finance Europe's most delicate affair d'amour. Yeah. No questions asked, no consent needed, the world's most powerful and murderous family. It involved no less than the Archduchess Marie-Louise, daughter of the Austrian Empire and wife of the exiled Napoleon. The Congress of Vienna had considered her victimized by an errant deportee of a husband. As compensation, she got the Dukedom of Parma, yeah, the Parma ham joke, in the Cisalpine jokes. Yeah, all of the false news that is coming out now about the I'm going to have to put that back up, but let's get the story told. Yeah, all of the false news that is coming out now about the David Bowie deaths and the David Bowie being involved in religious fraud. David Bowie is from the Cisalpine region, and all of that is the Al Pacino, yeah, the funding for David Cameron's Tory party through Lord McAlpine, and it is sick. That's the Bowie tribes of northern Italy, and that's the four corners of the known world at that time. Yeah, like the pages of this very insightful book. The God's instructions were quite simple. Okay, I've got so much cooking on their other frauds that I've not found the time to get this out yet. Okay, so this is the setting up of this woman to be the concubine when her husband is still alive, and he's the one that runs the profiteering exercise that gets them all of those central banks and gets rid of 600,000 poor people all across Europe, and most of them come into Britain. That's the Melrose internment camps, all of the places that we told you about near Northampton, and the places in Wales, and the places near the racecourse in Cheltenham. Dozens and hundreds of them, and all of them bring in the double agents, and the people are prepared to fight for all sides, yeah, provided they get to fill their suitcases with cash. Okay, that's me speaking, I'm not reading that from the book. Yeah, look up my previous videos if you do not understand the Cheltenham and Melrose crimes. Okay, so she got the Dukedom of Parma. Vienna had considered her victimised by an errant deportee, that's Napoleon, of a husband. As compensation, she got the Dukedom of Parma, Pia, the Piso joke, Piacenza, and Guastalla. For additional relief, Metternich provided a manly young major domo. Yeah, lovely capture he is. Like Michael Ancram's relatives in Italy, there he is with the eye patch, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, you want another look? There they are, happily married with the bastard offspring. Yeah, it's amazing what they're allowed to get away with. And that is some sort of penile joke, like all of the monuments to the triumph. Yeah. Adam Albert von Neipperg with the Piso joke in it. We're not going to get the Michelle Pfifer story told if I don't get a move on. Okay, so the general, for additional relief, Metternich provided a manly young major domo named General Adam Albert von Neipperg. The general wore a black eye patch, the result of a sword thrust during the war. Do you get now the amputee jokes for all of the Colditz inmates and all of the dukes and duchesses that profit from all of those massive conflicts that are totally premeditated to get 600 people, 600,000 killed, then 80 million, then 45 million. Okay, the general wore a black eye patch, the result of a sword thrust during the war, had considerable social gifts and diverted the Archduchess so well that on May the 1st and again on August the 8th, 1819, two events took place. Yeah, that is out of wedlock sex for a massive public figure, and that is the current model that Connor Kay, yeah, engaged with Prince William, and all of the stories I've told you about killing kittens and the prostitution dens. It's massive. Even although the Commoner Kate lineage takes you back and interlocks with the Commoner Kate Middleton is on the bloodline for Longshanks. Yeah, with the Hibs manager, which is why Hibs won the with the Hibs director, who's called Petrie. Yeah, and the people in my town are the Petries, and all of them are totally ashamed of it. I don't know why the common people, yeah, that live in the town and were involved with the laundering of Eva Braun and Hitler out of the bunker, that's the Saunderses, don't know why they have a conscience about it. Okay, both were also so the incident that took place is the siring of those two children on the 1st of May 1817 and again on August the 8th 1819. Yeah, two events took place, both blessed. Yeah, that's the birthing of those children, yeah, in that illegitimate bastard arrangement set up by the Rothschilds. Yeah, like all of Queen Victoria's children, or 9 of them, were sired by Rothschilds. One was sired by blind Prince George of Cumberland, and the only other one was sired by John Brown. Yeah, the joke about Billy Connolly being a loyalist. Both were also clandestine because Napoleon, far away on St Helena, while being fruitfully cuckolded, did not die until May 1821. The children, de la Normande was the name of the body double that is under the State Department in the Seminary in Paris. And that's the silk ladder for the Rothschilds of Waddesdon. Yeah, and that is the silk that is made in the Windmill Hill place, right next to Aylesbury where I lived. With the vash and all of it she knows and understands. That's Miss Valerie Jane Lees, the total traitor who works with these under intel organisations ever since I met her. totally in a debt pool, did not even own the car that she drove around, and she's now claiming half of this house. Okay, both were clandestine because Napoleon, far away on St Helena, while being fruitfully cuckolded, did not die until May 1821. The children of so august a womb had to wait many months before they came into anything like an official life. Yeah, that's their sexual future for the Rothschilds' profit stream. Their births were not registered. Their nannies nursed them in closed-off castle halls until Mary Louise's secret Morganesque marriage to the general in September 1821. She pretended, even to her imperial father, that little Albertine and little William Albert simply did not exist. You get the joke? It's the same names in every dynasty to cover the bedroom crimes of their illegitimacy. And can you see why Prince Philip, who's murdered many of them, yeah, and the person who introduced him to the Queen, he's murdered Lord Mountbatten. He now calls himself a Mountbatten. All of it's totally twisted, and that's because the fascists also run Burke's Peerage. Okay, their nannies nursed them and closed them. So the Tots were the bastard offspring of an adulterous union, but they were also the grandchildren of the Emperor of Austria. His Majesty created them the Counts von Montenuvo, this name being the Italian equivalent of Neipperg. That is the new mountain. That is the molehill to a mountain joke for all of the US Marshals. It's sung about by Shakira, yeah, in that song about her having small breasts and being fit for engagement like this. Yeah, the women are treated brutally through all of the history. Yeah, and in Germany, the women cannot be the queens. Yeah, so they've had 2 male children here, and they will become very influential in world history. I've not checked that bit out yet. So you get the mountain for a molehill, and that is the Piso jokes about the marshals and the masters of the horse. Yeah, so that's the name Newburgh or New Mountain. Besides a name, they also needed a fitting inheritance. Their mother's dukedom, a kind of hardship grant, was not hereditary. Do you get that in Germany? That's the Hoyk common riding joke too. Yeah, in the Teviot Valley. Yeah, for poor Queen Victoria, who was shagged by the blind prince. Yeah, and God then blinded him because of that. Your mother's dukedom, a kind of hardship grant. Okay, so we've done that. Something was, Salamon Rothschild tiptoed into the picture. It became his assignment to conjure a safe, no-risk patrimony for the Montenuovos without selling any of their mother's lands, without an unpopular increase in Parma's public debts, all of the scams that they run in every country that they own, without raising an undue commotion. At the Romischer Kaiser, the hotel tenant got busy with his army of clerks. As usual, he found an ingeniously comfortable solution. Marie Louise was to declare that she had spent much of her private revenue on an itemised list of public buildings in Parma. That as reimbursement she took some 10 million francs of state funds for herself, a sum to be instantly converted into bonds by Rothschild and sold on Marie Louise's behalf to a great number of different people in different countries. Do you get it? Everything that we do now is the same template. There is no money in the treasury, and that's why the corrupted government is picked, and that's why Cameron has gone, and that's why all of the crimes of Klaus Moser and the statisticians and the treasury officers, yeah, who then become the education ministers, yeah, in the coalition regime that was torn to bits by me. Yeah, this lot will not last any longer. Sturgeon is the joke about the Schnapper Rothschild, and she wants another referendum. All of the public money is being spent on the massive covers of the mafia operation that this is. I think I'll stop there now. Yeah, I don't know much more of it. Do you get that? That is the open declaration in a book that was published about the family, and yesterday showed you the pictures of them, how they run Rio Tinto. Yeah, they give it to the Hancock's family that my wife is a member of, and that is Gina Reinhardt, who's on the Forbes rich list on their behalf. Yeah. It's a very, very ruthless regime. So let's close now by showing you the connections to the commie bastards that now determine the future of our democracy and are on the same boardrooms as the Rothschilds that planned all of that. Right then, I don't get the watering can joke, but I might have to open that tab just to get it later on. There's the two bastard boys. Yeah, those blessed events. Yeah, don't know whether or not she got date rape drugs. Don't know whether or not there was any consent from her. That is way above the Rothschilds' code of conduct. Okay? And Hannah will not reply to any of my love suits except with a writ, which is the joke about two of those companies that I've just told you about with the Russians on them. Right then. So, let's go to the UK board. And this is now the history of the global warming incidents. Okay, so that is the United Kingdom launch of the global warming research, and that is the UK board for Blavatnik and Deripaska. Deripaska and Blavatnik interlock on the boards, and when I open the Blavatnik board, yeah, I find Edmund John Philip Brown, and the one that we looked at before with those massive links to Hannah's dad, Jacob, yeah, and to Nathan, her brother. You've got Lord Jonathan Andrew Kestenbaum, director since February 2011, when my wife pretended that she tried to leave me because I became a fraud researcher and I began to hit on her employers, that are the Rothschilds, and her job is in Intel to desert the country that is now totally leaderless because of David Cameron's resignation. They have nowhere to go. Edmund John Philip Brown of Madingley. All of these are still live on the board. I would, if I had time, I would show you the former directors. Len Blavatnik, yeah, billionaire in Russia. Lincoln, yeah, fucking communist. Lincoln Eduardo Bennett, yeah, Michael Aidan Pakenham, and their director since 2010, in the same month that I came back from New Zealand and we got that massive snowstorm through all of the winter. The whole of the Chipping Norton area was covered with snow as I lived in my brother-in-law's corrupted house in that town, and that house got flooded regularly through all of my time in New Zealand. That's the God's work too. Okay, Michael Aidan Pakenham, Thomas Colum Harding. Let me show you Blavatnik's boards and their titles. Yeah, there he is. Len Blavatnik, director since 2010 of the not-for-profit, in inverted commas, there are no inverted commas, the Blavatnik School of Government Foundation, United Kingdom, registered and still live since 2010. Fucking commie, billionaire one, like all of them. Yeah, friends of the royals, friends of Lord Patton, friends of the Duchess of Sutherland, and all of the links to the Jewish policy studies units. Yeah, and they pretend that the Judaism and the icon mothing is very important. Yeah, and they get persecuted for it, like the women that they choose to be their parents. Okay, so let's show you how they launch global warming. Yeah, this is it. This is Michelle Pfifer. I wish I'd brought a picture of her in. Yeah. So the Global Environment Facility was established, and there is the Jeff jokes. All the jokes. about Jeffrey, this, that and the other. It's the Global Environment Facility run by the Rothschilds for all of that time, and only yesterday did I discover that. Here is another interview with George Hunt and the World Conservation Bank. See how they launch the new initiatives? Money for nothing. Okay, and I still have not highlighted. So there's my mate, Facebook friend still, Andrew Carrington Hitchcock. He reports only the minor crimes. Gordon Bowden does not report any of them at all. He's the cover for Lord Sanderson of Bowden and the Masons that he used to denounce like a ballistic person. Okay, there is Edmund de Rothschild's statement, totally without basis, at the Fourth World Wilderness Congress in 1987. CO2 is the cause of non-existent global warming. I don't know who this journalist is, but he's very insightful. He founded the World Conservation Bank. All of them are sad bastards. This is the French wing, yet who they proclaim in the book are corrupted as the Viennese shag the Empress. And their story is that that guy with the eye patch did it, yeah, and their story in World War II is that Albert did it, yeah, the poof with the chain on his prick. Okay, so this is the launch of the, and all the funding comes from the Rothschild banks, GF, IMF, World Bank in fucking Frankfurt. My friends Rebecca Stronmeyer and Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees now come up on the internet when you search for them. Really nice people, I thought. And Rebecca still has the capacity for greatness, but she will put her life at risk if she does that in Aryan Berlin. The total amount of land involved can be as much as 30% of the Earth's surface. That's a joke. They've got it all now. A whole lot of it. And the Rockefellers get part of the blame here. They are just bit parts in the story. Yeah, there's Maurice Strong of the massive fascist organisations, and the winners at the dog show today get to prance around, if they win, at Earl's Court where the Nazi rallies were held, with the Rothschilds, with the Churchill families leading the fascist salutes and the warmongering in the lead up to the 39 steps to World War II. Yeah, Earl's Court. All of the fascists in the jokes about the Mitford sisters. It's a massive, massive joke that there are any communists apart from me anywhere on the globe. Okay, and so let me just find the reference to Michel Pfeiffer's launch into the world. Since the Fourth World Congress in 1987, Rothschild can be heard on video stating this needs money, and there's Andrew Hitchcock quoted. So, and there's the IMF is closely interwoven, and here with the Rothschilds, Bank of International Settlements. That's the Basel faulty jokes in Switzerland. Yeah, right next door to Clermont-Ferrand, where the Cluny Abbey was launched and the first killings were done in World War I. Yeah, and then they start planning the new bloodlines. Yeah, in, what did we say earlier, 1819 I think we were talking about. Yeah, sorry, that's way back in Napoleonic days, no connection. So George Hunt starts the negotiations, and the man that is Pfizer is in the joke somewhere around here, and he is a mathematician with training in economics. Yeah, so he can create equations that no one understands, and you can look him up on the internet if I find his name. If not, it's going to be a tragedy. You remember Michelle Pfeiffer? She's a beautiful, beautiful woman. Everybody that is brought into the public eye is brought in for the same reasons. The GEF has allocated, it's the largest funder to improve global environment. Yeah, that's all of Bill Clinton's scams, all of the families that are the covers for Ooh La La, and that is the massive joke of the Smurfits, yeah, and they interlock to the friends of Mrs. Doyle in those religious, massive religious jokes that are funny until all of the cast die in their mid-40s. Rest in peace, Brian, on the Christian cross. Yeah, here's all the banks that they launch. The United Nations Development Programme, David Rockefeller Consultant, Nigeria. Yeah, that's the Nigerian terror. Yeah, the Kenyan product supermarkets. The UN Environment Programme, UNEP, the World Bank, the UN Food, and I met a World Bank employee at the last dog show, the really posh one, and now they go to the cheaper option that is the Birmingham Conference Centre, and they send the poor people from Scotland to the really expensive London events at Earl's Court. The UN Food and Agriculture Organisation, a Rockefeller partner organisation. So this is the Rothschilds running all of this in global warming since the late 1980s. Yeah, when Norman Lamont crashed our banks and we had all the massive real estate scams, the African Development Bank. Where is the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development? Is the one that is in Cheapside next to the Bank of England that they totally own, and that is where the French Prime Minister, the socialist Hollande, and his socialist former wife Ségolène Royal, they get massive directorial pieces of that action. Yeah, and that's why he gets hit by lightning when he goes on his inaugural night to meet Miss Merkel, the false socialist in Germany. Isn't it lovely how we can have false socialists all around the world? The Telegraph, 2nd of January 2010, 1 month after I had re-entered our country. N.M. Rothschild, that ran the student loans company and ran the Balkans fraudster, that is Charles Guthrie, yeah, he's on the board of the N.M. Rothschild Bank as they brutalise the Balkans. Yeah, that's Guthrie out of Dundee, and I talked to people at the dog show today, they'd never heard of him. Is poised to earn tens of millions of pounds by further strengthening the close bond between Rothschild family and the Russian billionaire Oleg Deripaska. The bank advising Deripaska's firm is Rusal. Yeah, all of Russia has been stolen since Queen Catherine was there. Yeah, Catherine the Great. Here's Nathan Rothschild, a little thumbnail. Is an intimate Deripaska is an intimate friend of Nathan Rothschild's, was able to tap the World Bank's International Finance Corporation and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is the French President's initiative, and his wife, and their divorce, and all of the pimps and madams that get involved in the scandalous news releases. That means that all of those countries steal from their people, yeah, for a loan of 150 million to his basic elemental vehicle in 2006. Yeah, this is the crimes of Hannah Mary Rothschild, who issued that writ through the and she works on the board of the company called RIT with her dad. Yeah, and that was cited in the first list that I showed you for the interlocks to Blavatnik, and Blavatnik is on the Forbes rich list. Like Gina Reinhardt, yeah, and there is the son and the brother of Hannah Mary Brookdale. Lord Brookdale cannot be found anywhere. Deripaska is one of 16 global business leaders who drafted the CEO climate policy recommendations to G8 leaders, who all of them still pick. That is the global warming that uses El Nino, the Christian baby doll, yeah, as the joke that the El Nino weather patterns are bizarre, as the gods go ballistic every time my wife tries to pretend that I am in any way guilty of any crimes against my family or any marital abuses. Yet all of what she's done is totally on behalf of the British government, which Cameron is now obligated to resign from. He's the recipient of all of my mail, yeah, to the office at Whitney Conservatives for all of my time as a lobbyist, since the snowstorm stopped in the winter of 2010, when he came to power and emptied the Treasury using the new Education Minister, David Laws, emptied the Treasury as a former employee of the, I forget which banks he was on. It was Barclays and one of the other massive American linkages, and he's the one who was picked to negotiate the Lib Dem and Conservative coalition agreement, and that is when Michael Moore, sadly, who had pledged never to launch student loans as a Lib Dem, became a cabinet member, and he became the head of the Students' Loan Company with Vince Cable, run by the Rothschild Bank. It's absolutely ruthless, and all of it they run as a joke, completely out with any form of law enforcement, and that is because of their links to the Peasel family. Okay, and here's the interlocking directors that are now. So let's see if we can find Michelle Pfeiffer's thing, and then I'll sleep happily. Here's Oleg Deripaska, their colleague in crime on global warming. There's his massive yachts. He's a friend of the Chelsea manager Abramovich. He's got massive yachts in Wellington, which is the joke about the central bank in London. The Global Environment Facility was established in October 1991 as a $1 billion pilot program, the World Bank system, to assist in the protection of the global environment and to promote environmental sustained development. All of it is massive, and all of it is the work of the gods, and so are the pathologies that has got David Cameron scared shitless now. This is the massive companies that are formed by the people that meet in those elite meetings 100 years before the London Olympics. War dead joke. The United Nations Development, David Rothschild Service Management, the United Nations Environmental Programme, Maurice Strong. That is the round table. All of the Queen's ownership of the whole fucking world, run under Rothschild jurisdiction. And the Queen's not on the rich list. In 1992, at the Rio Earth Summit, the GEF was restructured and moved to the World Bank to become a permanent separate institution. Launch of new banks, new lotteries, all of it, new poll taxes. Do you get it? It's the same joke replayed, and World War III is the Islamic menace. They're committed to that, since all of them, have those Freemasonic links to Hitler, Rothschild, and the swastika icon for Rolf Harris, and all of the tax havens. There's Illuminati Maurice Strong. Where is there's George Soros, who interlocks to Michael Moore, and and George W. Bush, and all of the rest of it, and all of the legal firms that I was connected to. That is the legal firms of the tiny little village of Duns. Confirmed that George Soros's interlocks made them guilty and were not suitable to be the lawyers on my civil divorce case with the bitch, the Vash from Chipping Norton. Right then, where is the Pfizer? I want to get that into the story. Food crisis. Jim Rogers, Lord Jacob Rothschild, has bought 100 acres in Brazil. That's where all the rainforests have been flattened, and all of the nitrogen fixation and the production of oxygen by the plants no longer can occur, because all of that is owned by the massive companies that have gotten rid of the rainforest. And that is the McDonald's joke. And McDonald's and Detweilers now make the drones so they can kill people and their enemies all over the world without even declaring war. And they own everything at Nuremberg too. Shit, I cannot find the man's name. Oh, it might come up as on the open. No. maybe I've not gotten down to it, because I would have put in a picture of Michelle Pfeiffer in all of her glory, with all of the Oscars that she wins. I can't even remember what the films were about. Okay. And one hopes that it is across at the left hand side of the page, but I doubt that it will be in big text like that. So all of it is global, and no. Oh, this is the actual page that it's from, I think. So George Soros is in charge of the food crisis. It's absolutely ruthless, and that's the Food Global tab. But I'm sure that the global warming is the one that launched the Pfizer nickname. And you can find him, if I can find his name for you, in the on YouTube. You will not get it tomorrow morning. So let's find the name. Shit. This means the UN countries of the world are donating money in exchange for our useless SDRs on the reimbursement of our loans to LDCs for Rothschild to take over the earth as a forfeited security. Do you get it? Yeah, just massive, the same as those crimes that they laugh at in the lawless Vienna. Yeah. Where is the man's name? And there's the bakers, and that's the joke about the Piso bakers and turning the people to flour. Yeah, and the bones to flour. The World Conservation Bank. And the Jeff Bank. Ah, here it is. Thank the Lord. Yeah, Senior US Treasury Department official William Pfifer. Yeah, that is Michelle, the beautiful blonde bimbo, launched into the world, and its ministerial officials openly serve in the council of Rothschild funded Global Environment Bank. That is a joke. That is Rothschild funded. They get funded like crazy from all of these scams. Yeah, they pay no tax, yet none of it is declared. All of it is a massive crime. Yeah, and the gods are ballistic about it. Yeah, on the Brexit night they had massive floods in London, and I noticed that many of them were in the Watford areas, where my wife's family are the salters, massive money launderers. Yeah, and that's a saltire flag joke for Alex Salamon Rothschild. Yeah, Senior US Treasury Department official William Pfifer, the current Deputy Assistant Secretary Environment and Energy. He's a mathematician, the sad bastard, and he presents incomprehensible equations to the public to make it look as if he knows what he's talking about. The whole thing is simply just stealing from the people. And the food thing is even worse. Let's get to that now. Yeah, I'll just read it from it. I've not prepared any notes, I've not gotten down to it yet. So do you get it? The Russians, Blavatnik's on the rich list. They're all friends of the Chelsea manager, all the people in Chelsea in London. Yeah, and that's the Brookses that are the Chelsea fans. Yeah, and that's the Brookses that run the Ednam House, and all of it is a fascist op through all of world history, and that's why Cameron is having to resign. And he openly declares himself to be a conservative fascist, and they were the Whigs in the old days, and they were in the American offshoots, the Know-Nothings. That is the Notting Hill movie. That is Lord Hollick of Notting Hill. That is the Know Nothings. That is an American political party since the Boston Tea Party was launched, and they are the anti-Catholic movement in America. Yeah, that's Field McConnell, John Patterson. You maybe do not know it, but they are the legacy of the Know Nothings, and that is the Hawkeye jokes and all the Hawkins